we have a lot of people on here who may not know you, and we like to do interactive, right? So we're going to have questions come in. It's funny. Dominik Hrbaty is how do you pronounce your full last name? You can say it. It's Hrbaty or
Dominik Hrbaty. It's a Slavic name. It's a HR. It's a Hrbaty.
Hrbaty.
But a lot of countries cannot say. Like in British English speaking, they have hard time because they don't use the R.
That's
like Arabic countries, it's easier for them. Slavic
South
countries,
America, Argentina, like they roll their R's.
Yeah, Spanish can do better. The worst is probably English, and maybe some Asian countries also would have problems.
It's funny because we're around the same age, and I obviously, being a player and a fan, this is before the digital age, but we knew, our growing up in New York City, we knew some young players from around the world. We knew you, we knew Tommy. You were sort of a known, young player on a global scene. Very, very, very young. I think I was recounting with Tommy. He said to remind you of the boys' 14s in
Genova, playing for a motorbike. I freaking lost it. I was 4 up in the third.
You remember. So for all you listening, this was a grudge match of 14-year-olds. They don't really offer that anymore, but apparently it was a motorbike, like a Vespa. The winner got
Vespa like Piaggio. I remember until this day because he got the motorbike and I get like a watch Seiko, like a Japanese, but you could not compare watch to motorbike. I was like so sad. But
isn't it amazing though? Because right away, look, you've known Tommy, you've played over the years all these champions, but you remember the juniors, right? I mean, I tell everyone here, that everyone in ICL that you're playing Orange Bowl and Easter Bowl with, like these are people that you'll see for the next 20, 30, 40 years, and you're going to be.
That's right. Many of the guys. There was so many that came up from the same group age, and especially the group age we were with Tommy. There was such a strong age group. There was at least 7-8 guys top 20. Like you had Radek Stepanek, me, Tommy, then Christopher Rofus, then it was I think Zabaleta, Puerta, the Argentinian guys. There was a couple more that they made it like really from Netherlands. Peter Wessels, Raymond Sluiter, Olivier Mutis, Alberto Martin from Spain. He was around 30. Big group, and so we are lucky to have such a strong group. Not every year is as strong as ours.
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, you were sort of that next generation, that sort of coming up right after the Agassi. You still played. I mean, you played. Listen, I remember watching TV. You played Andre. I think was it semis of Roland Garros.
Yeah.
I was a tough one. I mean, unbelievable. So as an introduction for those of you that don't know Dominik, unbelievable career, obviously starting in the juniors, but so many. I mean, I'll start with considered probably one of the greatest Davis Cup players ever. I mean, you turned it into beast mode. I don't know what it was for your country, but your Davis Cup career was.
Tommy can tell you. He actually made me a very, very nice compliment after we beat Germany in Davis Cup, and I think I beat Tommy in 3 straight sets. And he said that if the ranking would go by Davis Cup, I would be definitely top 5 in the world or even higher. Like he said that it was impossible to play against me in Davis Cup. It was just, for me, it was Davis Cup a thing that, because we are from a small nation. Slovak is like 5 million. We don't have we have only one challenger and not a big ATP tournaments. And obviously, if you are at the top, you don't get the chance to play in front of your people or home crowd. So there was the only chance to play in front of my grandpa, grandma, uncles, cousins, sisters, whatever, brothers, and I just wanted to show them how good I am, and that was one of the things that why I loved to play Davis Cup, because it was probably for me the only possibility, and plus I was a team player always, so I always had the fun, and I always enjoyed.
There's so many things to go through, but again, as an introduction, I mean, you got Davis Cup legend, obviously. I mean, career winning streak. Tommy and I were talking. I mean, the players that you beat, obviously it's kind of insane to say this out loud, but a winning record against Roger,
Yeah.
Rafa, and what are you, equal with Novak or
I'm
Novak?
equal with Novak. I'm 1-0 with Andy Murray. I'm 2-3 with Andre Agassi, 1-2 against Pete Sampras. I don't know, 10-4 against Kafelnikov. So
I
yeah,
mean,
there is a couple.
that's unbelievable, and even some doubles with a young Roger.
Yeah, we played. We were great friends with Rogers, and we started to play. Our first doubles was in Gstaad,
Mhm.
and then we kind of enjoyed it, spending time together. And I think our best result was semifinal of Indian Wells, where we beat Woodies in quarterfinals.
There you go. All right. Well, we're gearing up for Indian Wells. I think a lot of our students on this webinar will be playing now ITF followed by Easter Bowl. So we have a whole Indian Wells has become kind of a hub. So hopefully next year we get you back out to the desert. It'd
Sure,
be
I will be happy. It's a beautiful place.
It's the best. So I mean, going back, obviously we already have some questions coming in, but really you've seen these generations. I mean, like Tom, you've kind of crossed the divide, right? Having played Agassi, Sampras, Roger, Rafa, Novak. I mean, the sport, the evolution of the sport and being right there, you know, I'd love to just take this little time we have and hopefully be the first of a couple, but how do you see now looking back, when you started the transformation? Were there any pivotal moments, breakthroughs for you? We'll talk about your career, but also what you saw now looking back in the transformation of the game changing.
There is a really beautiful story that I like to talk about because, I mean, first of all, I always believed that I will be one day a tennis player. That was for me like not only dream, but it was like something that I would consider as my goal. I have to understand. I grew up in the communist regime in the country that was invaded by Russians, and we had to, learn Russian at the school and stuff. And when I was small, around 9, 10, we kind of had to, like in all the other schools, like had to write the essay, like what do you want to be in your life? And obviously I wrote, I want to be tennis player, but in a communist regime, you could not be a professional sportsman. It doesn't exist. So the teacher sent me home and she said like, okay, you have to redo your work. So that's kind of things, that small things that, made me even more hunger to prove people they are wrong. But what actually I want to say is the story from when I won my first Australian Open. I was 16 years old. I think I was around 25 in the world on the junior ranking. And it was my first junior Grand Slam ever, main draw. It was that time, obviously, for us, since, coming out of the country, communist country, to travel to Australia was like a huge load of money, basically almost 1/3 of our budget for the year. And my parents wanted kind of, because obviously you play for these big tournaments. Tennis, if you want to be a good player, you have to play or you play the way that you want to achieve the ultimate, to play Grand Slams and play against the best. I mean, I don't think we have to talk about it, but just to mention it, like, never go small dreaming. You have to always dream big, and to chase these dreams, you have to then work that way and see yourself there. So I went to this tournament, to Junior Australian Open, and I played one tournament before, category 1. I don't know how I did. Maybe lost first or second round or third. I don't know. But then I came to Australian Open. I played a number 2 seeded Jamie Sekulov. I remember this name until this day. And I played on the Margaret Court Arena. That time was the second biggest court, because there was no Hinsen Arena, there was no other stadiums. It was just the Rod Laver Arena and the Margaret Court. And so I walked on the court. Obviously, Jamie Sekulov was number 2 in the world. He was Australian, so there was a huge crowd. And I played, and I lost first set 6-4, and I twisted my ankle in the second set. So basically, my match was done. Went to the locker room. The physios take care of me. I see it first time in my life. I saw the players like Boris Becker, Goran Ivanišević, Pete Sampras, all of them in the locker room. I was like, wow. But it still wasn't the point that would make me like, okay, this is where I belong, or this is where I want to be. It was funny moment that at that time there was not a digital age, so we could not change our tickets to fly back that easy, because it was a paper tickets, and we had to stay. Our flight was booked sometime later, so we had a couple of days. I was going every day for physio, and at this Australian Open, last 16 was playing Pete Sampras against Ivan Lendl. So basically my childhood hero, because I come from Czechoslovakia.
I was going to say, you had Lendl, you had Miloslav Machir. I mean, you had,
yeah, and Sampras, who was already, like number one, upcoming big star, because he already had few Grand Slams. So, and when I was young, I was looking up to Ivan Lendl. When I was at that age, I was looking to, like everybody was looking to Roger, or Rafa or Djokovic. I was looking to Sampras, like they were my idols. And suddenly these two guys are coming, to play together. So I got the tickets. I was like so excited. It was a night match. I sit behind the court. I had like really low ticket somewhere behind the court, and I was watching the match, and suddenly I see like he goes like missed easy forehand, he double fault, he missed volley, and I don't know. Until this day, I don't know if the match was that bad, or my expectations was so high that I saw all the mistakes, because all these mistakes when I was home, my father was always telling me like, how can you miss that easy forehand? How can you miss that volley? Or how can you miss the ball from middle of the court? And it was exactly same mistakes what my coaches or my father was telling. And I see it on the stage record, with the number ones, or the guys who has like so many titles, Grand Slam titles. We're talking about legends. And there I realized at that moment, I was 16, that there is no way I'm not going to be top 100 in the world. Because what's the difference between me and them? The only thing that is difference that they're older, which I'm going to be. They hit maybe a little faster because they are stronger and taller. I'm still not fully grown up. So I will be that same. And they make the same mistakes. So what I need to do? I need to just practice hard, keep what I'm doing, and believe that I'm going to be there one day. And actually, 3 years, not even 3 years, 2 years after, as a junior, 18-year-old, and maybe that also Tommy did tell you, I was top 100 in the world. I was 77, and I could get to junior US Open as a top 100 man in the world. And I always say, like, when I meet juniors and a lot of players, like, how is that possible? Can you be in 2 years that much stronger, that much faster, that much, like, suddenly you're gonna hit the serve from 100, whatever, 15 to 135 miles an hour? It's not possible. So I say always, it's all up here. It's just the vision, of your vision of tennis, what you want to do, how you want to do, and you have to have a long-term goal and chase it. So it's not that I would get that much better with my game, but I believed so much what I do, and I also did some right choices, and that brought me to top 100. So as a basically teenager, in 1997, I was the youngest player of top 100 and playing the Australian Open, and then I lost the last 16 against the Sampras, which 3 years ago I was watching from the stands with a twisted ankle and like just dreaming if I can make it. And suddenly I was there, and there was a Phil Knight watching my match, the chief of Nike. There was I don't know who was the boss of Adidas. And there I got my first really big contract for a closing and stuff after that match. I lost 6-4 in the fifth in 59 degrees, so which is I think like 143 Fahrenheit or something.
Whew, yeah.
So,
I mean, but you were a beast. I mean, I think there's the visualization, at ICL, we talk about taking a passion and making it a purpose. You found your purpose, and then, but what kind of process do you follow? I mean, obviously it's like you had the talent, but was there something, there had to be something special. I mean, you were coming from an age where you were producing, there were some great players out of Czech Republic, Russia. I mean, there was a lot coming out. Do you think what separated you in the pack? What do you think that, was there a point
It's
that,
at the age of 17, I got to be coached by Marian Vajda. Basically, I was first student of Marian in his life. The day he finished his career, he started to coach me because we are from the same club. We are actually living 200 meters away from each other. And my father somehow convinced him to coach me. Obviously, Marian know me because we are from the same club, so sometimes he did practice with me. But still, it's different if he was as a player and then myself was as a player, and then transfer it to him coaching me and me being his student. So when I started with Marian, it was a year basically after, or year and a half after I played this Australian Open, and we started in December, and this is another very interesting story. We started in December, and he took me to the satellites. This kid doesn't know already what is satellites.
They don't, but I played satellites in India on cow dung. Yeah. So I remember.
Yeah, satellites are basically futures of this day, but it worked a little differently. You had to play 4 tournaments to get some ATP points, and first 3 tournaments you had to make enough points to get, they called it masters, to the 4th week. And if you had enough, like a circuit points, they called it circuit points, then you could convert it to the ATP points. But you had to play 4 weeks to get basically some points. It doesn't work like now. You play 1 tournament, then you can rest. No, it had to be 4 in a row. So we started in December 1995, and in 1996, end of the January, we went to our first tournament in Egypt. It was satellite, and I was 340 on ATP ranking. By August, I was top 100, and by September, I was 77.
Wow!
So
it's a good satellite.
So, I mean, again, is it possible to make some magic there? No, but what he did teach me was how to use my brain through the matches. Basically, he took me out there and he showed me how should I analyze the matches, where should I sit, what should I look for. And then when I knew all of this, I had to memorize it and also follow the opponent. Follow the opponent, not only patterns, but his behavior, his reactions, his face, his emotions, and what he does at all of these moments. So when it comes to the match, I can react on it exactly if I would see him playing against someone. And by that, because most of the players are like to play some patterns, especially in the important moments. There is very few players who doesn't play by patterns. There are very special, sometimes like I would say Kyrgios or maybe, I don't know, even Roger had some patterns. It's a small patterns, but everybody has them. There are, like I said, very few. So Marian did tell me what should I look for, and then it was up to me how I'm going to use it, because many of the players, they know the information, but they cannot use it, or they are scared to use it. And when we started with Marian, and for me, he was like, because he was top 100 player. He was 34. He was a great player. And for me, he was like a god. He was like, if he would tell me to hang down, hang on the tree and sitting there or hanging down on the tree like for 12 hours, and he says it makes my forehand better, I would do it. Obviously, many of the reasons, like of course, doesn't say that you have to do exactly what your coach tells you, but many of the things that he said, I was able to analyze and transfer into my vision, into my game, because every advice the coach gives you, it's meant well, but you have to be able to put it into your game. And for that, you need to visualize yourself, how you play. So when we got to the point of when he told me how to analyze, then I was determined that I don't care about winning and losing. I just want to play the right way, the match. So that means I have to make the right decisions. And by making the right decisions, I will win the match. It's not that I want to win the match just to win it, but I want to win it the right way. That's more important, because winning in the right way will bring you more victories in the long term than really just winning it temporarily, no matter how. But if you play it wrong way, actually you're gonna lose way more.
I have to pause here because this is like, we call them like the gold nuggets, like that stop point, because what you're talking about is so important and it's so much easier said than done. But we have a lot of players on here, and we're going to see them at Easter Bowl and ITFs, and the issue we have a lot with UTR. What's my UTR? I don't want to lose, or I need to get this or that. But every great champion that's come on, like yourself, they talk about playing the right way, right? It's not about winning and losing. It's saying, am I setting up to be, if my goal is here, how am I going to get there the right way? And what you just said is so critically important.
It's I will continue, but since you paused me, I tell you another example. These day kids, we talked about the social media, they watch too much of the Instagram and Facebook, and I don't say it's wrong. I also do it. But the problem is that on Instagram or Facebook, you see only the highlights of the match. You see only the best shots. And I think that's kind of hurting the kids, because Roger, Novak, Rafa, I don't know, Agassi, Sampras, they are not superstars. They make even sometimes more mistakes than you do, but you just don't see it on that Instagram. You don't see it on that Facebook. You don't see it on the social media. And I tell you, I practice with Roger so much. We went even one time to go LA, and we stayed because Roger loved hockey, NHL. And I organized, that time was playing 3 Slovak guys in LA, was Wisniewski, Palfi, Stumpel. And I organized a week that we stayed there, and we went for 2 or 3 games, and in the evenings we went for like a barbecue with the hockey players. And every single day I practiced with Roger, morning and afternoon. And I tell you, Roger was not able to finish one practice with me. After 1 hour, he takes the racket, he throws it over the fence, and he says, I'm not practicing with you anymore, Domino. I cannot win one first to 10 game with you. It's impossible. And I told that time, Roger, one day you're going to beat me, then you're going to be number 1. But I meant it the way that, because he had no patience, he was like, he wanted everything and now. And this is the problem with the social media and the great shots, that players, when they see it, they want everything now and the same way. And I always say that what you see, it's maybe he makes the guys makes winners, but the thinking is completely different than you think. They never go for winners. They actually, what happened there is, like, if you have Roger or Rafa or Novak or any one of these top guys, they get to difficult position, and then in their brain goes the machine, the computer starts, and they go like, okay, I'm here, and what would be my best chance to get to neutral position and get out of the difficult position to play the ball, so the opponent cannot hurt me, and I can get at least somewhere that I can either get neutral position or even maybe get in offense with the next ball. And when they hit the ball, they aim to be accurate, because you want to get from that difficult position. So when they hit it accurate, they hit it actually that accurate that the ball become winner. But these kids, they see it on like on the highlights, and they go like, many times even to me, they say, I saw it on internet, or I saw it on TV. He went for a big shot there, but he went, with different thinking. And this kid, if he's going for winner, what is actually, I always give them answer, what is the word winner means? Winner is the 50-50 ball, right? Because either it's in or out. It's the last ball of the rally. And since it's the last ball, the same shot, if I play with the thinking of playing accurate ball, and how do I get to position, it's 80-20. So you see how the chances are getting better with only being, with the same intensity, same swing, same power, same position, but because of your thinking, the chances are completely different, and your chance that you're going to put that ball in, it's way higher, and the chance that it's going to become winner, it's because you play it so accurate, the ball becomes winner. Not that you play it for a winner. That's very important. The balls become winner because you played accurate.
So what you're saying, and this can be for everyone watching, you know, when Dominik is talking about Marian Vita, you know, you can just watch Novak's game, and we talk about this a lot, that Novak is not a player that hits winners. Novak is calculated with patterns, and I think with the story you described before about patterns, it's so clear, right? Novak studies more than anyone, you know,
Yes.
from that, the patterns, and Novak, you know, he makes you take one step, another step, another step, and his winners are not the Kyrgios winners, right? His winners are, I have you out here, now I just need to put it back here. So
Exactly.
it's a different thought process. Yet a lot of juniors we see, especially American juniors, it's like, you know, third ball, let me hit a win, you know, let me just go for that big winner. And I think what you just said, the definition of a winner, the last shot you're going to hit, the 50-50, it's the last one of the point. So I think,
I mean, winner itself, the word winner, it's itself one shot.
yeah.
And in tennis, you don't want to do that, because in tennis, to play for one shot, I mean, imagine that you take this word winner away, and then we come to the, let's say, practice. So you say to the kids, okay, now you play a set that you can hit the serve in one shot. How it's gonna be, how it's gonna look like that match? It's gonna be crazy mistakes with probably crazy scores. So this is what the word winner actually means. But the tactical game or chess game, the game of chess in tennis, it's based on playing accurate, and so you play that accurate that actually the ball in the end becomes winner. So, but when I go back to the story, I started with so we started. I was 360 on the in the world, and I cruised. Basically, I won my first satellite. Like, I won first 3 tournaments, went to the quarters or semis. I had maximum points I could reach at the satellite. Then I went second satellite. I finished second, so I had 50 points. Then I had like 27 ATP points from the second satellite. I become around 220. And I started to play challengers. About first 3 or 4 challenges, I lost first or second round. And then in June, I made a breakthrough on 125 challenger. I made my first final. It was in Slovakia, challenger, Košice. And then I played finals, won, finals, won, until like end of September. So basically between middle of the June and end of the September, I played 4 finals and 2 challengers, won. It was like rocket speed. But the thing was like, how I become suddenly so good. You know, I was still a teenager. I should belong, like Tommy was playing junior, I don't know, Wimbledon, and I was already almost attacking top 100. So how is that possible? It's that I could use my analysis, and I was ready to use the information that I got from either Marian or myself watching the matches. I watched so many matches watching my opponents before the match, because that time was no internet. And how I learned that, that's very important, because Marian told me, and I tell kids, you have to go and yourself watch the opponent, not on TV, but in person. Always, you know, sit. If you know player, like you play him, I don't know, 5 times, then obviously you don't have to go. But if you play somebody first time, it's always good to see how he grips the racket, how he holds the racket, how he prepares for a slower shot. Sometimes you realize if you play faster shot to his I don't know, let's say forehand, because of his grip, he cannot make it. Sometimes you will see he play drop shots on the break points, which is now very famous with the kids, that every break point you just need to hit the drop shot and stuff, because they see it on TV, which is obviously, it can happen. But I always say, like, yeah, if you want to hit the drop shot on break point, you have to try 10 times before, because you need to get a feeling for it, not first one on the break point. But he told me, like, to make, like, I have until now this book home, to write a book about the player, you know, every single player, I had to write my notes. But what you see in the world, when do you think what the coaches are telling to the kids? Usually it's always after the match, right?
Yeah.
But I had to remember before the match. That's the
Yeah.
biggest difference. And you know why? Because if I write down the notes about the player before the match, I will have it here. It's like learning process, right? Because it's not only watching, but then when you watch the player, you have to kind of go through your brain, what you know about him, write it down. And then when I wrote it down, I came to the match and I had it still back of my mind because I knew, okay, I wrote this one. And if he went by it, I say, okay, check, that works. If he changed something, there was always a red light flashing, you know, like immediately. Oh, he's not playing what I write. And then I had to write again after the match to kind of correct my thoughts. So because I had to write it before and I had to write it after, in the match, I had to be aware what's happening, not what's happening with me, because many kids only thinking of their game, or oh, my forehand is not working, or my backhand is not good, or I cannot do it, or there is a wind. But if I would start to think about this, I completely lose all the knowledge or all the line that I learned about my opponent at that moment, and then it's so hard to get it back. You know, it's like sometimes I would compare it like you talk to someone and you had your one thought and suddenly you cannot get it. You know, like I had it and I lost it. So that's why I had to be so focused. And this is what helped me. You know, like why I suddenly become as a junior so good, because I could read in these players, and I tell you, these players are the futures and challengers. They have the same patterns no matter what. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So they play the same stupid decision or same stupid mistake at the same time of the match, and every match, single match, one after each other. And it was a break. I give you an example. It was, let's say, break point for me. There was one guy who I played a lot, was like Viloka. He was like a Spanish guy. Before he served on the break point, I exactly knew what he's gonna do, where he's gonna serve, and what he's gonna do. Second shot, if he get to the rally, what he's gonna do. The third shot, and if he have more than 5 shots, I knew what he's gonna react like. So how easy it is if you play. Let's say, imagine that you play on the tennis court, and somebody tells you, okay, it's going to your forehand, it's going to your backhand, and you are there, and you can do whatever you want in the world. So you cannot lose the match. It's impossible. So this is like why I become so quickly and so early so good, because I got information, and not only I got information, but I knew how to use it.
Well, you were a student. I mean, this is like gold. So all of you parents, and we have a lot of questions coming in, but to all the parents and students, this is literally education of tennis, right? The same way you treat school, right? You prepare for a test,
Exactly.
and then when you get it wrong, what happens? The teacher gives you feedback. They don't just say F or A or B or C,
Yeah.
write you notes. And the great students go back, they read the notes. Oh, I missed it there, or let me correct it, or you have another chance. Redo the paper, hand it in, here are notes, redo it again, make it better. You took that education, and honestly, you're sort of giving a metaphor for at ICL why education is important. I mean, you really, what sums up your tennis superpower was actually not in yourself. It was the way you went about it and approached it like a student, like in school. You said, look, I'm going to understand my opponent, but you had the belief in yourself. You said, look, if I can deliver, if I know what's going to happen, then it's up to me. Obviously, you have to put the work in that, all right, if I know where he's going to serve, I need to be good enough to know that I can penetrate and hit my shot, where I want it. But really, you're talking about something that's so important, and that is, again, I don't think it's that different from today. And I think when you see great tactical players, and we see a lot of juniors coming up on the challenger circuit, like Lerner Teen, or you're seeing breakthroughs right now happen. A lot of it is that when people talk about tennis IQ, or the tennis knowledge, I think they're really talking about that ability to not just have a shot selection for themselves, but to understand strengths, weaknesses, patterns. So
But
it's
it is as you say. I know I always say the tennis player cannot be stupid. I mean, my father pushed me to finish my high school like all the way. Even I was already top 100. Like it took me a little longer maybe to finish the high school than other kids, because I was already traveling on the pro circuit.
I'm sorry we
But
didn't have ICL. I apologize. That's my fault. Sorry we
yeah,
didn't.
that time didn't exist ICL because there was no internet. but you
But you
know,
were forced to do school, but you understood the importance of the education.
It's not only that, but you know, the school trained me for tennis, and I explain you why. Because in school, what happened, basically, you have to sometimes memorize some of the subjects. Some of the subjects go easier, so there is a logic in it for you. Some of them go easier, you know, very easy because for you it's a natural talent. But then the ones that you have to learn hard way, like memorizing, that's also part of it. And by all this, you're practicing your brain. You're practicing your brain to be focused and to have that ability to be memorizing the things. And this is exactly how is the tennis working, you know. You have to be memorizing from the first ball to the last ball and doing the stats, because tennis is all about percentage and stats. It's like, I like the saying of Andre Agassi, it's not how many times you play 100%, because if you play 100% you also fall to 60, but how long you last for 80%. And for this, that same comes to the point of selecting the shots, selecting the patterns, selecting the probabilities. And the more probabilities you play, the more you will become good. Actually, there is one very funny stat. I played about 1,000 matches on ATP. What do you think was my winning and losing record in a whole career? That's since I started the futures till I finished. Out of 1,000, it's very easy number. So how would you divide it?
Anyone want to jump in? We get a little participation here. You know, say 50, you say you're batting 500.
So I won 560 and I lost 430. But I was 7 years top 20. How is that possible? So every second match in my career I lost, and I was 7 years top 20. I was 12 years top 100, about 10 years top 50. How is that possible? So you see, you just need to, okay, this is for you kids. Now listen, and you will write here down the answer. What would be the score of the match if you win out of every 5 balls, 3? So out of every 5 balls you win 3, what would be the score of the match? And you can tell me the answers. What's it's popping on your screen?
Guys, let's see it. Come in, type into the Q&A. Who's got an answer for that one? Every 5,
Out of every 5 balls you win always 3.
3.
Yeah. So basically you win what, 60% of the balls. And 40 you lose. So the match would be like, I don't know, it's 60 balls winning, 40 balls losing every 100 balls.
Would you win? We have 40 to 30, but yeah, so do you mean 6? Like, what would the match score be?
Yes, exactly. What would be the match score? Like best of, it can be best of 3, best of 2, whatever.
Whatever you want. What do you think win the match? All right, Alicia, what do you think? So you say 40 to 30, but no, but it's going to be 6. We have 6-0, 6-0.
Exactly.
Yeah, 6-0,
It's
6-0.
unbelievable, huh? That you win only 3 out of 5, and the match is 6-0, 6-0. So imagine that you go by the probabilities, and that's why it's so important to focus on the stats in the match and memorizing the patterns. Because if you know only 1% better than the opponent, then you don't lose the match. Only 1%. You don't need to know more. Just 1% more, and you never lose the match.
Lucas, good call. On that note, Lucas, you've been waiting a long time. You can come off mute if you want to ask Dominik a question, because that was a good call. You got the 6-0, 6-0. So Lucas, if you want to go off of mute or come on if you're not at practice, we can go into Q&A. This is so, and I promise you guys, I'm not paying Dominik for this, but the link up to education, this is why it's important to understand that the correlation between math and, I mean, same thing in biology. I mean, understanding what Agassi's quote, you know, how do you keep energy management is so important, right? You know, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about, but like, just what we're talking about is efficiency, right? I mean, there are ways you can break down tennis. And what I'm hearing you do is you've literally made it that it's efficient. It doesn't have to be this, oh my God, that guy has a huge serve. He serves this big, or, you know, or I need to hit huge shots. You know, if you can win 3 points out of every 5, you're going to win 6-0, 6-0.
I played against John Isner, I think on my last Australian Open, and I had to go through qualifying already because I was after two surgeries, and we met in the first round, I think, and I lost first set 7-6, and I got 22 aces in one set. I go like, Jesus, if this goes like in 5 sets, it's gonna be a world record of 100 aces in a match. But I lost the set, and I didn't know John Isner from before, but I was like counting. Okay, he serves here, 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 and I won second set like 7-5 or something, and then it was like 4-3 or 3-2 or whatever. He just completely collapsed. He could not hurt me, and it was just that even himself, even maybe when again, it's a question, and you have to always start from yourself. When you go to the match and you have a breakpoint situation, do you serve to always your best side, or you go maybe some surprise, like weaker side? Obviously, 80% of the time you would go, because you want to win it, you would go to your best side of the serve. And then if the guy returns the ball back, would you go down the line, or would you go cross court, or would you play drop shot, or whatever? So there is always, even yourself, you have some patterns. Even if you don't want to admit it, there is always little. Or some people just take the ball from the same ball boy, and if he changes it, he's going to change. If he takes suddenly from the other side, he's going to change, the serve direction, or he's going to change something. So there is so many things that you need to be aware of through the match, and that's why you should never focus on yourself through the match. To analyze your mistakes and to analyze what you did wrong, you can do after the match with your coach in the locker room. But through the match, you have to use the weaknesses of the opponent. I help a little bit a guy who is, I don't say the name, who is top 10, actually fall out of top 10 recently a little bit. And I kind of help him to give him like a tactical advice for the matches through through his team. And many times I watch the match, and after the match I asked like, why he didn't play what I gave him, because it actually would work, but he doesn't completely use it. And the answer was many times, the player wants to play his way. But I say, how do you want to win the Grand Slam? Because then you run to someone who maybe you beat 3 or 4 guys who doesn't like your game, but then you run to someone who doesn't mind. And if you play to his strengths, how are you going to beat him? If you play to the stronger side, that's what happened to, if you remember, Djokovic-Wawrinka match in Paris, Roland Garros, when Djokovic lost. Vajda came home, and he started to like, Domino, he played so good. I said, Marian, you guys played so stupid. He goes like, what? I go like, you played to Wawrinka's backhand, which is the best one-handed backhand in the world. And obviously, what happens if somebody plays to your best shot? Then you start to play it so good and you get so confident that even your weaker shot will get more confident. And then you suddenly don't have a weaker shot, you have a good shot and the best shot. So how are you going to beat this guy? So that's why you have to be so aware of the opponent, because you need to destroy his weakness first. And once you destroy his weakness, you're also going to hurt his strong side, because his strong side will go down. And this is something that players. I lost you there, Kirk. Are you there?
Yep.
So this is something that the players doesn't like to do, because they feel like to always, focus on themselves. And it's a tough part, because then you feel like you're missing some of the things. But all the things you have to work on practice to play outside of the matches, and just it needs hours and practice, and it will come to the match as you want. But you cannot focus on yourself. It's impossible to. I mean, you can win if you have something big, but you're not going to win consistently. I mean, we're talking about best, number ones in the world.
This is so huge, and we're gonna. I mean, listen, we welcome you into the family, and we got to do that. This is so huge, and I want to make sure that this really resonates. I do want to spend a little time. We have a lot of questions, so we'll do like a speed dating. Since Lucas won, Lucas, do you want to come out and ask your question up here? You can come off of. So we're gonna go Lucas and then Brady and then Arush to ask your questions real quick. But let's get some videos on. It's always good to see other people's faces. Lucas, you want to turn your camera on, or Brady, if
Um,
you're oh, there you are. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I don't know how to turn my camera on this, but
Okay, go ahead. You can ask your question.
um, I just want to ask about your pre-match routine. So, like, what did you eat? How much did you warm up? And how did you reduce your stress?
Oh, that's a very tough and question and long to answer because it's not simple to answer, but I can give it quick answer. So basically, I eat a lot of light food, like salads, pasta, nothing heavy. I think the last meal before the match I would have like 2 hours or 3 hours before the match, not really close. Actually, now maybe with the science, some of the things can change because in the end of my career, there was some projects or scientific research that just before the match to boost, your energy and kind of like being hungry to go out, you should eat like 10, 15 minutes before something, like an ice cream or a little sugar. So it, boosts you up for a start. I don't know what's the research now, but definitely I would never eat anything heavy, even in for the breakfast. Warm up would be by needs, but I was a fan of warm up very close to the match. Many players doesn't like it because they feel like it makes you tired. But I have an argument against that because if you are not ready to play 5, 6, 7 sets, then I don't think you should belong there because if you come to the Grand Slams and you see all these long matches, and if you warm up before 3-set match, a best of 3, 20 minutes before, and you say it makes you tired, then I think you have a lack of fitness to say that because it should not happen. And why I did warm up before the match? Because if I had a long period between my warm up and the match, I would not have a feeling that good. It's like when you get to the match, I always say that the biggest chance to break the opponent is the first game and the last game of the set. Because first game, nobody is properly warmed up. And the last game, everybody has stress. Doesn't matter if Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, whoever. So you have 2 huge chances. And if I'm not properly warmed up and I don't run into the court with a full, 100% being ready, then I miss this chance. Actually, even opponent can break me, so it can hurt me. So that is the reason why I preferred. And to prepare for the match, I prepared already. My preparation started a night before, or maybe afternoon before, because we didn't get even to that here. But I did a lot of visualizations. I was going through my head in the match how it would look like. It's not only opponent, but it's the stadium, it's the court, it's the crowd, it's the referees. Basically, for some people, can be hard to imagine, but by practicing it, you get better and better. It's like seeing a movie, and watching that movie. So you just imagine that movie. It can be realistic, also realist, but it can be also unrealistic. You can play both, but you just have to be custom with yourself to be there with this opponent and know what he's gonna do, his style, his grip, his motions, his reactions, and all that. And then, I say that many of you guys happen that you suddenly are at the situation that you say, I saw it somewhere. It's like, or you call it deja vu, but it's not deja vu. It's just that you've been prepared well before. So, this is how I worked, and this is for, it's for whole another 2-3 sessions of talking.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we'll
this
get
is
back.
in the short term. This is how I worked and how I prepared myself.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I know we're coming up on time, but Brady, you want to, Brady, can you come off and ask your question?
Yeah, my question was, how do you have any advice for dealing with stress during and before the match, and how did you deal with that when it would come up?
And that also comes to visualization, first part, because if you see yourself playing against, if you have 5 more minutes, I tell you another story. I told you already, I was the youngest player on the Australian Open in 1997. I was a teenager. I was the youngest guy in top 100. And I came to my play. I never played a qualis of the Grand Slam, and never even, it was my first Grand Slam ever, men's Grand Slam, adult. So 0 experience and straight to the main draw. And the week before, I played so bad that I couldn't hit the ball. And my coach, Marian Vaida, told me, like, okay, we have 2 ways of what we're going to do. One way, it was, I lost first round in Singapore in the Challenger. So he said, like, okay, you can take 2 days off. You just leave it the tennis away. Then we restart and we go on the court and you start to practice. That would be probably doing 80% of the guys. Second way is that we come to Melbourne and we start to work our ass off, and we just will work so hard that we will make it that you play good. Obviously, the second choice is very, very hard, but I always believed in, again, it's a statistics. What would be the statistics if you don't hold the racket and you come after 2 days that you will play good? Or what would be the odds and stats if you have 7 more hours of tennis and, thousands or 10,000 balls more over the net? Where would be your chances to play better? So I said, okay, let's go practice. Obviously, I didn't know I signed the Devils, thing.
Yeah.
So we came to Melbourne, and he wakes me up 6 o'clock next morning. You go running for warm up, 45 minutes. So it was like a 20 minutes run, 15 minutes stretch, 20 minutes run back. Obviously, the time was no iPhones, so I had nothing to listen. But while I was running, I was kind of playing a mind game for these 20 minutes that I'm on the center court with Pete Sampras playing a match. There is a crowd, and I play like this amazing rally. Then I come to the net. He lobs me. I pass him with a tweener, and the crowd goes crazy, But I was like playing every single morning up to the tournament. I was playing this mind game. I didn't know who I'm going to play first round because the draw comes out on Thursday. And on Thursday, when the draw came out, I was playing a guy named Sandon Stolle. His father, Fred Stolle, was one of the legends of tennis. And he was himself Davis Cup player. So I was playing this mind game. And then, obviously, we had a hard practice, about 3 to 4 hours, even sometimes maybe 5 on the court. And after we came back home, I was like, finally, I'm off. But he said, okay, you go out the recovery run. So I had to go running again for 20 minutes recovery run. And I was again playing this mind game, and every single day. So then comes to the, Saturday. Saturday, obviously, we went a little less practice, maybe not 4 hours, but only like 2.5. And then Sunday, he gave me maybe 1 practice just to recover before Monday's match. So I come to my first ever Grand Slam match, first match ever best of 5 for me. I never played best of 5, playing in front of Tony Roach, because he was watching, obviously, Fred Stolle. I don't know who else was there, like all legends of Australia. And I won 6-4 in the 5th set. I was like in my first ever Grand Slam match. So then, next day, obviously it's a day off, we practice. I go out, warm up run, practice, recovery run, still dreaming about Sampras. Second round, I play against Jonas Kulti. He was a Swedish Davis Cup player around 50. The time was no mobiles. I went on the court like 12 o'clock, lunchtime, and finished like 1 o'clock, 10 minutes. Like the match was literally 1 hour, 10 minutes. I won like 6-2, 6-1, 6-2. Like my fastest Grand Slam match ever. I call my father from the payphone. I call him like he picks up the home line like home, and He goes
Yeah.
like, what? It's raining? Because that time was no internet. He says, it's raining? I said, no, I won already. So then I'm in the third round and I play Alberto Berasategui. And I'm still, you know, doing this run, playing Pete Sampras and all that. So I go with Alberto. He was top 10, finalist of Roland Garros. And in the third set, he calls me to the net. He goes like, come, and I go like, go back. I want to play tennis. I'm not going to talk to you, you know. He goes like, come back, come here. And he shakes my hand and he says, it was 2 sets to love at me. I don't know what was the score in the third. He says, I'm cramping. I cannot run anymore. So I'm in the fourth round. And obviously, yes, before this match, I already kind of saw that I might hit a Pete Sampras if I win. And I come to the press conference. And the journalist that time, nobody knew me, you know, nobody. And the press conference journalist asked, so how are you going to play Pete Sampras? And I'm going to, I say, my first answer, I did speak barely English. And I go like, I'm going to win. And they go like, ah, everybody laughing their ass off. So I come to the court. And the first moment I walk to the court, it belonged to me like a home. Because I dreamed so much about it, every detail, every moment.
In this here 1,000 times.
Yeah, for me, this was like something that I experienced millions of times. It was nothing new. And playing Pete Sampras, like for you guys would be like Roger or Novak, I played him so many times. But of course, when I imagined, I exactly imagined his moves, and I knew where his best serve. I know how when he comes to the net, how he plays it. And every single moment I played him, I exactly knew how he's gonna play. And because I saw it, and for me it was like, okay, this guy is nothing special. I know everything about him. So I was 4-1 up, 15-40 for double break in the 5th set. It was my first match ever against the even top 10 guy. No, actually I played maybe one before him, but whatever. First match against the number 1, against the legend, like these days would be Novak or whoever. And I suddenly was winning. I lost it because he played, I think, 2 aces and something, then was 4-2, 4-3. He made it 4-all. Actually, 4-2, I lost my serve. I made, I think, one stupid decision. And then 4-all, I had some more break points. And at this moment, at the break point, he had a second serve, and we had a big rally. And I lost this rally. He made the backhand winner. So imagine how is the odds, whoever knows the Sampras, how is the odds? He hits one-hander backhand on the line, down the line, winner. It's a very small chance, but he did it. I lost the match, and I came to the locker room, and what would you expect from your coach? Like, well done, great match, you know, you are so young, you have all future around you. I was there, and my coach, Vaida, stormed inside the locker room, and he goes like, how could you play this? Why you didn't play that? You know, I was like, from smile, I was like, you know, like, I started to cry. I cried for 15 minutes, but the lesson for me was, like, I don't know how you call it in English, but this invaluable lessons that you get in your life, that I realized that, first of all, match is never over until the last moment. I was sharp, but maybe I was not as sharp as I should be. Second of all, I realized that if you want to win the number 1s, you cannot play safe. It doesn't mean you play crazy, but if you have a chance, you have to be in charge of the rally. You have to be the one who will decide how the point will go. And that's something that is, if you want to beat the top guys, and I beat all of the number 1s. I beat Roddick as a number 1. I beat Kuerten in Brazil as a number 1. I beat Roger as a number 1. I beat like all of them who was there. But because of this lesson that I always wanted to be the one who will be in charge, and not the ones who you know, that they will dictate what I should play, or if they got you know, like they make me run and then I just defend or whatever. I mean, you can defend, but you have to be, if you are that type of the player, you have to be still in the decision process. You are deciding what the other guy is going to do. And third of all, and the most important part was that because of, I don't know, you know, if it should meant to be, or if Marian just did it on purpose. I started to realize that the more you play these mental games, the more chances you have to win. So then after that, everything or every match that I was going to play, I prepared myself, seeing these matches. And because of that, there was very little and few surprises that I got through my career that I wouldn't know about the player. And this is something that makes you, because he asked about less stress. And if like everybody is more safer and much better in the environment that he knows, because you know the environment, you feel home, you feel, you don't feel uncomfortable. It's something that and every day you meet. So because of that, I felt very comfortable. I never was stressed. And also there is one very important part. I played for people. I didn't play to win against Sampras. I didn't play to beat Roger Federer. I wanted to always show people my best game I could ever perform. And this is something that it's, I think, more important, because if you go for a win, you put yourself under the stress. But if you play your best game and for someone else, you feel like, oh, I can allow myself to do this, I can allow myself to do this, and you are less stressed, and then you just go for the, like for a something. Of course, it cannot be risky, but it has to be, I call it calculated risk. So the percentage of chances of winning it and losing it, but it makes you more, more free mindset. You get more freedom on that court. If you play to win, usually you get tight, and then it's not good. You just get into the spiral that it takes you down.
Such a great answer. I know we're over time, so the quickest answers, because I know Fatima is here as a question, and Grace will do the last two really quickly. Fatima, do you want to ask a question? You can come off of mute and you can come say, I like your picture.
Hello, my name is Fatima, and my question is, what did you used to do or even tell your students now when they are either in a slump or losing their drive in tennis?
I am not like English born, so what is slump?
If you hit like a losing streak, like you lose a bunch of matches in a row, you're just not on that winning train. You've been losing a lot of matches.
I always was a person who believed in proper working. You have to obviously go back to the basics. But I give you one other advice, because this is very common with probably 99% of people watching us who do the same. If you play bad, or if it doesn't go, what do you usually do? Tell me. What do you do when you're practicing with the coach? You're asking coach, right? Questions. What kind of questions do you ask?
Like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, what am I missing? Those types of questions.
Yes, exactly. That's the right answer. But I give you another point of view on this one. Why, when you play well, you don't sit after the match for 15 minutes and try to memorize everything, what you played well and exactly how you played it? Not only what you played well, but exactly how you performed the shots, how you took your hand, how was your feeling with the ball, what you did it at the moment of the strike, where did you take your racket? And imagine, if you know this, then if you play bad, what would you do? What would you do if you know all this information when you played well?
I wouldn't really think about it, actually.
You would go and take it out of your brain and go to practice, and you would try to copy the shots when you played well. You would go, maybe, first you would go with the forehand cross court or backhand cross court, and you would try to copy that shot. Okay, this was my feeling. And after a while, after 1, 2, 3 sessions, you would find your feeling, because that memory is there, and you would start to play the way that you played well. And that means that, and I learned it myself at the age probably 25, 26. If somebody would tell me that at maybe 18, I would be maybe even better player. But when I was a kid, or junior, I had always streaks of, I don't know, 1 month I was playing so good, then 1 month I was losing first round, 1 month good. But since I learned this, what I did when I played well, then I needed 2 days, literally 2 days, to get back to the feeling and to the position that I'm playing well again. And I never asked the coach what I'm doing wrong. No, I always asked how I did it when I did it well. And I just was copying that moves and copied that feelings and copied that stance, copied that footwork. And it was just so easy to come back. Like, it was like, literally, when I was like at my end of my career, it just took me like 20, 30 minutes of practice to clean up my shots, and that's it. So
interesting. It's like when I was younger, they called it the photograph. Like, you hit a great shot, like take that picture, but now it's like a 360, like get back to that feeling. And it's
but
a
it
great
takes time. You have to like really be, because the thing is that if you win the match and you play a really great match, everybody is so happy and so excited that everybody just does not think of it, because they think it's natural thing. It's like normal at that moment for you. Is normal because you worked hard, in the past, so it came. But this is the point. You work so hard for it. So now when it's really working, you have to memorize it. You just cannot let it go. And your life is going to be easier. And in the end, if it's something wrong, I was a guy who would go to the basics. Like, if you cannot find what you did, like, let's say now, maybe you don't know how you played well and how you played well because you never really thought of it and maybe you never realized it. So at this moment, if I would have the same situation, I would just go like slowly, take like 1 or 2 days, just go simple exercise like forehand cross court, backhand cross court, just hit the shots, then take these shots and go to moving like 2-2, 3-2, and still doing the same things, then go, like something that no pattern, just go random, and then you add some serves with the points, with some patterns, and like this. So you have to go step by step. You cannot do like 10 minutes of one thing and then jump straight to the points. It doesn't work. You have to be patient and work for a couple of days, and make a plan and just go by that plan with a lot of patience.
No silver bullet, right? I mean, it's a great.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. There is no holy grail in tennis. There is no magic formula.
But I think the positivity, I mean, taking away that concept, today, oh, I lost, or I'm nervous to go. That nerves, it's sort of what you said, is that imprint. What you're talking about is imprinting, and imprinting happens when you study. And when you study it,
Yeah.
you make figures, and each person is different. Dr. Lair talks a lot to the students about Yoda, your own decision advisor, because you can, Dominik can talk to you, he could be your coach, Marion could be your coach, but it's up to you to be your own advisor and how you do it. So I appreciate that. And Grace, do you want to ask your question to take us home? Last one of the night, really quick.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Fatima.
Hey, this is Grace. Yeah, I'm a parent, and one of my questions was, what are some of the things or something that you would advise parents maybe not to do that you've seen not work well with their children as they progress in junior tennis?
Great question.
Oh, this is always a question that, because the parent can ruin or it can also bless the career of the player. So, my father changed a job because of me. To support me, and he gave everything. Basically, he gave up his career. He was an engineer architect, and to support my career, he went to be just like a local secretary in the tennis club, like a guy at the reception. And it actually helped me in many, many ways to become a professional player. But he could hurt me, but he didn't do it because he had everything planned, and he tried to, listen to the coaches, listen to me, and if there was a major decision to be made, then he probably made it. But unless that, he never tried to interfere in my career. obviously we talked a lot about tennis. We talked a lot about the things, but he was just that, you know, back office to support me. And I think that's, if you want to create a player, if you want to really help your kids, you have to be that back office. You have to make them things ready. You have to take them from A point to B point. You have to be maybe talking to them about, you know, life, maybe talk a little bit about tennis if you see something wrong, but you should never, you know, go against the coaches. If you have some argument with the coaches, then you should speak to the coach behind the scenes, not in front of the player, and you know, also listen to the coaches, what's their idea before, you know, because sometimes as a coach, I can have a long-term goals and you might not see it, and it's a process of 1, 2, 3, but generally the parents has to be very supportive, and you know, all the great players you see on the tour recently, they have their families there at the you know, boxes, either Federer's, Nadal's, Djokovic, all the girls. So it's very, very important part. But as I know all of them, they, as I said, they were the ones that they did all the dirty job behind the scenes, but never interfered in the tennis career, because the player itself, and I have my daughter, and it's sometimes hard, you know, like I see her, maybe she makes a mistake. Yeah, she makes a mistake, and you want to tell her good. And actually, I burned myself 2 times on the way that she was doing really well. She played golf. I mean, she's like really great golfer at her age category. And she came to one position, you know, and I wanted to help her, and I told her, like, be careful of that trap, because, you know, you don't want to play there. You want to play maybe a little safer. But then actually what happened, she kind of completely screwed it up. And then I was thinking, like, you know, backwards, why it happened. And I realized that you mean it good, you mean it well, you want to help, you do everything, you know, for, you would give a life for your kid. But in the end, even the same, we are different people. Everybody has different thinking. And even you have the same vision, to come to that point, you can come with different ways. And because you interrupt the thinking of the player, or you interrupt his line, he might see it just differently, and it may be actually, he might not take it the way that actually you see it. So it's the same with the coaches. You can have 2 coaches telling you the same thing in tennis, but everybody tells it just slightly different, and the player maybe doesn't get it, because he thinks it's completely different thing. So this is very, very dangerous. And I coached some of the players where parents wanted to be very involved, and actually the players started to be better when the parents just let them do their job. In the end, yes, they burn themselves many times, they make the fair you know, false. But I give you an example, which my daughter has a mental coach. Like, it's not to be, you know, like tell her what to do, but to explore her brain and visions and her so she understands how our brain and thing works. And he said, like, really, really interesting thing. You have a small child, right? It's like 2 years old or 3 years old, and this child always stands up and falls. Sometimes it falls on the head, sometimes on the side, sometimes it hurts himself, and he cries, this kid. But he always goes and tries, you know. He has never fear. He has never fear to again stand up and again walk. And if we are talking to this is with the small kid, and if we are talking to our kids, and these kids, you try to interfere and tell them what to do too much, then they might get confused, and they might get scared, they might get fear that they do something wrong. So yes, there is coaches, there is people, you should tell them if they do wrong things, but you have to first let them try, and let them try, maybe sometimes even burn themselves, because that's the best way how they're gonna learn. If you only tell them what to do, they will work like a robots. And then when it comes to the situation that they need to do decision, they will not know what to do because they never burned themselves and all the decisions you made for them. So let them make decisions. And if they make decisions, even if they make wrong decisions, tell them after, correct them, but never tell them before what to do, because the learning process will be way slower and the progress will be way slower, because the effect is not as big if somebody tells them, if they do it themselves and they have to then go through their brain what I did wrong. That's much stronger, written in your brain than if somebody tells you what to do.
Great. That's very helpful. I hope that's great. We promise we have Ivan here for the last question. Sorry, if you have the last one, we'll bring it out. Ivan, you can
Hello.
go.
Yeah. My name is Ivan. I wanted to ask a question. What's the difference between top 100 player and top 10 player?
This. I coached players who, or actually when I was still active, there was one guy in Slovakia who was like hitting like out of his mind. If we were hitting through the middle, you would not know who is top 20, who is no ranking basically, or a couple points. We started to play points and I won 6-0, 6-0 with like 50 minutes. So and actually I played today here with a player who is trying to he's an older guy, but for me it's a pleasure to help him because he wants to chase his dream and he's making like a comeback. Yeah, he's actually working in the office, but besides that he still practice and try to play some tennis. He's like 300 now, 390.
You playing with Mattia?
Yeah, with Mattia.
We're very good friends.
So I spoke to him today. Actually, we practice, and I was telling him the same story. Like, Mattia, what is the difference between you today when I told you what to do and the top 100 player? And he says, none. And when I would see you playing with someone else, then I would not know who is top 100. The biggest difference is that how effective you are with your game, because he doesn't know yet what is his strong sides or how he can be effective. He just plays to play tennis. He plays to win, but he doesn't learn how his shots are effective, what's working, what's not, what's hurting the opponents, what I can do from certain positions. He's not memorizing it, and this is the biggest difference. It's not anything with the technique or how much power you put or how fast you play. It's knowing your game, what is effective and what is not. And that comes to the, if you remember when we started the session, I told you that I have to memorize what the opponent does on the other side through the match. And this is something that you have to learn through so this thing, knowing what is effective, you don't learn in the match, you learn in the practice. So it's opposite way. In the practice, you focus where your balls are landing, what is your favorite shots, what do you like to play from this position, what I like to play, where I am not getting hurt, where I'm not getting in defense, how I'm getting back to the neutral position. And this is exactly you should think in the practice, not thinking of what do you do technically but what do you do effectively. And to finish all this, when I started with Marian Vajda as a 17-year-old, he told me one thing, and I remember it until this day, and this will be maybe my last golden nugget to you. He said, whenever we play, you will focus what your ball does to me, where it lands, and how effective it is. In the meantime, I will tell you your mistakes, but you never really think of them. You just take them as, as something that it's coming to you. And because I tell it to you so many times, and I will repeat your mistakes, then your brain will process it and will do it automatically without thinking you will correct your mistakes. But you have to always focus how effectively you are playing. So if I say it in a simple way, and I always laugh on the players. If I tell you a million times you are idiot, what are you gonna do? You start to think you are idiot, right? So it's the same way. So there is a coach who is paid to tell you mistakes, but generally, unless it's something dramatic, you should not think of it. You always should think, okay, my balls are this effective, and he tells me mistakes, and I correct it automatically by what he's saying.
That's unreal. Now this is, I mean, we got to do a class. So I think the sports psych class, you know, when you said this, you are you know, such a wealth of information, and so many of these kids, you know, we have to, it'll be interesting to see the response, you know, how kids play, whether it's at the ITFs or the Easter Bowl or, you know, anything coming up, but really, really exciting. And we so appreciative. I mean, I have a million more questions, and hopefully we can do this again and put this into a format, because the dream, you know, for ICL is really how, what you wish you had had, you know, what could you impart of all these years, call it a little bit like Peter Pan, you know, what are the things that could jumpstart and help that. So thank you so much. And, you know, hopefully this is, I think it'd be fun to actually get a round table with some of your, with Tommy and some of the other guys of, you know,
Sure, we can do that, because also Tommy can have just, you know, different view on the same thing.
Yeah.
And I always say you have to ask questions, because you can have 99 advices, but only one can be that it just change your, you know, career. And even same thing saying different way, can somebody make it more understandable? So
you were great. You really did explain it. There are a lot of gold nuggets there, a ton, and great stories. So I thank you so much for being here and joining the ICL community and helping you know, inspire and support the kids. So we look forward to seeing you soon.
thank you.
You're in Florida. My best to you, and good luck to your
Thank
daughter.
you.
And going
Thank
on.
you. Yeah.
Thanks so much.